Hello and good morning. I am back from my trip and I had a little bit of a hankering for a pet pairing video, even though I wasn't actually planning on filming at all today because I've been hit by a simultaneous dose of, being tired from traveling and hormones. So I was originally just planning on having like a very low-key week. I have my episode 4 of the lipstick rotation series ready to be edited, but I had an idea for a look in my mind and I thought I would share it with you, so then I got all enthusiastic and motivated to film. So here I am. I'm going to start doing my makeup so that we are not here for 150 years. We had an absolute blast visiting my family. My mom specifically was just absolutely over the moon that we were there for her birthday. I don't think she dared to, suggest or hope that we're going to make the trip specifically for her, but of course I told her that it is my absolute pleasure and honor to be there to celebrate her 70th birthday. It was a short and sweet visit, only a couple of days, and as I mentioned also in my previous videos, one of the main goals of that trip also was for me to apply for a new international passport because mine expired in 2020 and I will probably kind of need it at some point in time, although I will be honest with you, I'm not one who really likes travel, especially far travel, so it's not like I'm planning on going somewhere far outside of the EU anytime soon. But even going to the UK now is a little bit more complicated and we do need an international passport, or at least I think we do, so I would rather have it than not have it. I'm going to take the Dior Skin Correct concealer. I was really missing my concealer, although I have to say I took the one from NYX with me and I kind of really enjoyed it. I think it's also a very hydrating, fuss-free, non-drying formula, and I like that the packaging is a lot lighter because as much as I love the Dior one, it is a very hefty, like heavy packaging, and when I'm traveling these days I just want to pack as lightly as possible in terms of makeup. So in terms of eyeshadow, I actually only took the two quints from the holiday collection with me. I took Nude Allure and Bronze Bliss, and they were the absolute perfect travel palettes. They're light, they're impactful, they're versatile. I think I fell in love with them even more than I already had on this trip. Especially Nude Allure is such a score for me. I will try to film my monthly roundup and empties for the months of June and May combined in this weekend, coming weekend. And then I will talk a little bit more about Nude Allure, but as I already also mentioned in one of my previous videos and reiterating that now, no regrets, I absolutely love this quint. I'm going to complete the trifecta, as one of you called it, with the Dior powder, also in the shade 2N, just like the foundation. The only different shade is the concealer, which is the shade 1N, but I really loved how one of you called it the trifecta because the three products just work so incredibly well together. And while I will be really happy to be finished with the Dior Backstage foundation, I think I might actually miss it. But for now I won't repurchase it because there are other foundations that I would really love to go through. By the way, just now I also put a little pan in my Dior Backstage powder, which I also really like by the way, and I really like that it works so well with the corresponding foundation, because you would think that most times when brands make these sort of products from the same line, they're supposed to work really well together, but that isn't always necessarily the case. But it is definitely the case for these two products. Oh, just FYI, we have been joined by Her Majesty, who is doing a little bit of a grooming session because she was out in the wet grasses. It finally rained here after weeks of not a single droplet of rain. So she was out all night and she came back completely soaked early in the morning. Then she went out again after breakfast. And now she's back here doing a little bit of a grooming sesh. I'm doing my brows, by the way, with the Too Faced Laminating Brow Wax. I actually realized how much I liked this product based on how much I missed it when I was in Sofia. I took my Brow Artist Plumper with me from L'Oreal because it is a lot smaller and easier to travel with compared to this, because with this I would also need the additional spoolie to comb out the additional, extra build-up product. But in terms of effect on the brows, I much prefer the Laminating Brow Wax from Too Faced. So this is definitely a product that I will probably repurchase if and when at some point I finish the one that I currently have. I think there's actually quite a bit of product in here, so I don't anticipate that to be anytime soon. But I didn't really realize how attached I was to the effect that this product has on my brows until we went to Sofia, and I only had the Brow Artist Plumper with me, and I used that for a couple of days. And while I like the effect of the Brow Artist Plumper, it's a bit more subtle, I kind of like how fluffy and laminated my brows are looking with this one. You know what, since we are on a Dior kick, let's just stick with Dior and apply the natural bronzing powder, or whatever this is called, in the shade Deep, which I have actually really been enjoying. Where is my brush? I'm going to apply this with the little brush that came with the original Keyaki set from Sonia G. And then I'm going to blend it out. Oh my gosh, this brush is just so incredibly soft on the face. It's like little kitty paws stroking your face. This is also another brush that I always take with me when I'm traveling, by the way, because it doubles as a blush slash bronzer, you know, applicator, and it is small and lightweight, and I absolutely adore it. Now, specifically for this trip, I actually could not take with me my favorite blush brush, which is this one from Sonia, from the Lotus set, which is called the Detail Brush. I absolutely adore this brush, and because we didn't really have that much luggage with us, I really wanted to take it along. But if I'm really pressed for space, I know that this one will be perfect. I was missing my Tender Apricot blush from Gucci. Speaking of Gucci, I am probably going to at some point be picking up one of the 3 new shades, the shade Soft Red, because I love the formula, I love these blushes, and this specific color has been getting really good reviews. So I would really like to own it, even though I probably have something like it. It looks a little bit like a more toned down version, like a less scary version of, what's the one from Pat McGrath, Electric Bloom. Electric Bloom is pretty much in the same tonality, but it is much more punchy because it's meant for people of a deeper skin tone, and this is a somewhat different formula. This is a bit more of a buildable formula compared to the one from Pat, where you, especially with the deeper colors, need to go in with a light hand. But I love the formula of these blushes, and I will not be able to resist that specific shade. It is just such a Mariam shade. To highlight, I'm going to take Venusian Nude, which is another one of my absolute favorites from Pat that I always miss when I'm traveling and I don't take it along with me. Oh, if you're wondering what I took with me for cheek products, I took the Pat McGrath bronzer in the shade Desert Glow, and I took my little palette from Charlotte Tilbury, the Beautifying Face palette from the holiday collection, to serve as like blush highlighter, and I absolutely loved it. It actually made me feel even more regretful that I will not probably pick up the new one that has a bronzer in it as well, because it is the perfect travel palette. I adore the formula, it is beautiful colors, and I just love everything about it, from the packaging to the actual product inside. But I just don't want to purchase yet another one of these, because what am I going to do with the beautifying one then? I know that if I buy the new one, I will stop using the old one. So that's the only reason that's stopping me from purchasing the new one, but the new one would have been absolutely perfect for traveling. And one more thing before we move into the eye look, I wanted to do a couple of comparison swatches for you between the shade Heat Ray from Bobbi Brown, which I talked about in my previous video, where I talked about how this shade has the exact same formula as the baked formula from Pat McGrath Labs, more specifically the VR shades. A video that I was curious what the reaction on would be, and I'm honestly quite surprised at how well this video is doing. I thought that the nerdiest Pat nerds amongst you would be really interested in this video, but that video already has like about the same views as the one that I did for the new Passion Fluor collection, so that really surprised me. It seems like a lot of people out there love that baked formula, so I really hope Pat's going to fix her freaking oven. And a lot of you mentioned that there are a couple of shades that you consider to possibly be similar from Pat. So I thought, let's do a couple of comparison swatches, because I'm really curious myself. So one of the shades that was mentioned is this Bronze Rose 005 from Divine Rose 2. So let's do a comparison swatch between these two. And also this shade, I don't know the name and I'm too lazy to look it up, but basically this one here from the Iconic Illumination quad. They look similar. I don't know that they will necessarily be the same, but let's find out. Okay, Bobbi Brown, Divine Rose 2, Iconic Illumination, and let's give them a little swatchy swatch now. Bobbi Brown, Divine Rose 2, and finally Iconic Illumination. I mean, are they the same shade? No. Are they close to each other? Yes. I think maybe the one from Divine Rose 2 is about the closest you will get, but it is just a little bit more orange. This one is just a little bit like more like a goldy peachy shade, whereas this one has a bit more like a deeper coppery tone to it, and this one is the most different because it almost looks like a neutral bronzy shade compared to the other two. But there you have it, just in case you were curious about it. Okay, I looked at what we're doing today. Actually, I was a little bit inspired by the fact that I was missing a little bit this bronzy brown shade here from the Ritualistic Rose Squad, and then when I was in Sofia I bought a pair of linen pants, like long linen trousers that have exactly this color of the shade from the Divine Droid quad, which is called, I think, Astro Lime. And I figured the bronzy brown and this shade here are going to look really beautiful together, so that is basically the look that we're going for today, nothing too complicated. I am going to start off the look though with my little statuesque single here, just to carve the crease out a little bit. But I will try to keep it very lightweight and not apply too much, because statuesque is also a very buildable shade. You can apply a very light amount so that it's just a tiny, you know, shadow in your crease, or you can build it up to be quite the intense eyeshadow. That's what I really love about this shade. It is just so versatile and so good. I really need the backup of it. We are going to a wedding in Italy in 2 weeks. Man, it's a lot of traveling, and if you knew me, you would know that I don't look forward to traveling so close next to each other. But already next Friday, so not coming weekend, but the weekend after, we are going to be going to a wedding to a very good friend of mine in Italy. And I've already been thinking what makeup I'm going to take with me, also because we are just taking like 10 kilos for the two of us of luggage, so obviously I don't really have that much space. So I've actually been thinking of just taking statuesque and that Bobbi Brown shade with me, because I also think that I will not really have much time to be doing makeup. I might even just be doing makeup on the day of the actual wedding, so it's not really worth taking too much with me if I'm going to do makeup only one day. First, going to apply a little bit of that bronzy brown shade here dry in my outer corners to build it up and be able to blend it out a little bit. Honestly, I didn't even need necessarily to have statuesque through my crease, because this shade blends out beautifully on its own, because when you blend it out, a lot of those like sparkles kind of like fly away, and it stays a little bit like a satin shimmer matte type of shade. And if you want to intensify it, you can put it over glitter glue or the sticky thing from Pat McGrath Labs. Wow, what is this called again? I know the name of this. What is that? The Artistry one from Pat McGrath, which is another product that I take with me when I travel, because it is quite convenient. Instead of an actual glitter glue when you have to put your fingers in, it is much easier to take the Artistry one from Pat McGrath Labs. And now I am going to apply a little bit of my NYX glitter glue all over the lid, including a little bit over top of the bronzy brown from Ritualistic Rose, especially here in the outer portion of the lid, because I plan on reapplying it there so that it's a little bit more intense, and obviously the inner corner where Astro Lime is going to be applied. Speaking of the Bobbi Brown shade, FYI, a lot of you mentioned that she's been selling a quad with these shades, I think for some holiday release or something like that. And if I ever find that quad, I would happily buy it, but to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever seen that thing around here. Maybe it was in store at some point. I'm reapplying now the shade from Ritualistic Rose, but I can't remember ever seeing it in a store, and I more specifically do not recall seeing it in the cosmetics outlet store where I bought the single shade. If I ever see it there, I will definitely be very tempted to buy it, although one of the shades in that quad is the shade that I purchased, the shade Heat Ray. But if the other shades are really pretty and really irresistible, I might just get that and gift the single to someone. Okay, reapplying the bronzy shade and taking it a little bit further even into the lid. And now I'm going to grab a small flat shader brush like this one and go into Astral Lime from the Divine Droid Quint. And apply that basically all over the lid and inner corners. I absolutely adore this eyeshadow, this formula, and I'm actually really sad that I skipped the golden one when it was released. I think I would have really liked to have all three of these Star Wars quints, mostly because of the formula of these eyeshadows. I know that the German Douglas actually had the golden one and like these Star Wars quints. They never came to our Douglas here, unfortunately. I've been checking, but we only got the two holiday quints, Bronze Bliss and New Allure, but I don't think we're going to get the Star Wars ones. So unfortunately, I think I have missed my chance to get the golden one. I think I've looked also on like Vinted and stuff, but I haven't seen it. At the place where the two shades meet, you'll have to do a little bit of this wiggly motion just to make sure that the transition is nice and soft. Just switching between the two brushes depending on which one you need to apply a little bit more of or a little bit less of. And I'm going to complete the lower lash line quite simply by applying the bronzy brown from Ritualistic Rose underneath my lower lashes. And maybe pull the Astral Lime shade a little bit more towards the center here, basically to mimic what I did on my upper lashes. So just taking the tiniest bit more of Astral Lime and pulling that right here, more towards the center. I usually keep my inner corners really in the inner corner, but this one I'm going to pull a little bit further. As I was finishing up the look, I all of a sudden had a hankering for some extra sparkle. And I was thinking which shade would be the best companion to the, especially like the greenish shade, the Astral Lime shade. What has a beautiful green sparkle to it? So I immediately thought of VR Fire Opal. So I'm going to take on my little flat shader brush here, VR Fire Opal, and I'm going to try to very gently apply that over top of like the inner portion of Astral Lime, right here, and then slightly in the center of the lid, without disturbing too much my lashes, because I already did my mascara and I don't want to fuck that up, but I just really wanted to add a tiny bit of extra sparkle. I don't even know whether you're going to be able to see it, but I think it will be there if I stand in artificial lighting, and it will just elevate the look. I don't know whether you can see it, but I can definitely tell that there's a lot more sparklage than there was before. Love it. I was originally going to go for Meet Me in Berlin from Lisa Eldridge, but then I thought I use my Lisa Eldridge like lipstick so often that you're probably sick and tired of seeing me use those exclusively. And then I figured, of course I need to put on a gloss. So I took out Flash 6 from Pat McGrath Labs, and I'm sort of determined to at least put an almost like finishing touch to this gloss this year, because there's only like so much left in here, and I know that with frequent use I could probably not finish, but like almost finish this gloss by the end of this summer season. I do wear this pretty much only in the summer and spring, which is why it's taking so long to finish it, but also it's a gloss. I've had it for quite a few years and I don't know that it will last much longer than it already has. I've had this for... when did these come out? 4 years ago? 4 years ago, at least 4 years ago, and it honestly still is fine. It smells good, it doesn't like burn my lips or anything, it's not off, for sure it's not off. If it were off I would have tossed it, but I don't know how much longer it has, so I want to be able to finish as much of it as possible this year, so I'm going to make it a goal for myself to use this a little bit more often. Anywho, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought about this look. I think I'm slowly going to head off to work, and I'll just see you in my next video as usual. Bye!